I, the undersigned, henceforth known as the Alone, hereby state that on February 14th, I have absolutely no one in my life. You're alone on Valentine's Day?
It's not about a date. I just don't have a ride home from the doctor's office.
But isn't that the same thing? I mean, isn't it about having somebody out there?
Yeah, I get it, Bon Jovi. It's already been explained to me.
Hello, divers, coming to you from Studio D. This is the Deep Dive Microcast, a brief look into things I find interesting, and I hope you do too. I'm Tom Feeney, raconteur, substitute ombudsman, and writer for Wang's Chop Movie Magazine. It's that time of year again, folks. To paraphrase the poem by Alfred Lord Tennyson, a young one's fancy lightly turns to thoughts of love and chocolates. It's Valentine's Day, a day that lovers in love, and single people hate with the fiery passion of 1,000 burning suns. Yay! Every February 14th, the Feast of St. Valentine is celebrated mostly by the Anglican and Lutheran sects of Christianity. So who was St. Valentine? Not sure. Apparently there were several saints with that name. Go figure. The first recorded celebration of the Feast of St. Valentine on February 14th was way back in the 8th century. For those of you who may not be good at math, that was a long time ago. So how do we get from a religious feast day to giving expensive greeting cards embedded with chips that play "My Heart Will Go On" when opened? Some believe that it was the same company that spoon-feeds hours and hours of schlocky Christmas romance movies to millions who are buzzed on boxed wine. Yes, Hallmark, when you care enough to send the most expensive paper products of all time. You know, a single Valentine's Day card from Hallmark can cost up to $15. Of course, you can always get a card at the local dollar store on the, other side of town. But when your significant other looks on the back and sees American Greetings, you'll be sleeping on the sofa. And there are those, of course, who blame the greeting card industrial complex for creating this artificially inflated sense of urgency to prove yourself a worthy partner based on your level of creativity and your budget. But is that really the case? Is Valentine's Day truly one of those so-called Hallmark holidays? Not really. Hey, you want to blame somebody? Yes, our neighbors from across the pond. The place, the pilgrims left to get away from religious persecution so they could practice their own religious persecution? Yeah. So paper valentines, the precursor to the modern folded type cards, were introduced in England during the early 19th century. These were fancy, elaborately decorated cards with beautiful artwork and sometimes with lace and ribbons attached. Fun fact, a year after England invented the postage stamp, over 400,000 Valentines were mailed across the UK. In the United States, the practice became popular in the middle of the 19th century. It was introduced by a New Englander named Esther Howland. She loved the English Valentines and started her own successful card business. And since 2001, the Greeting Card Association, yeah, that's a real thing, gives an annual Esther Howland Award for a greeting card visionary. Yeah, thanks a lot, Esther. Today, the greeting card industry is massive. According to the company Grandview Research, the market size of the global card business was in 2020, valued at $19.25 billion. Now, this of course includes innovations like cards with recordable chips so you can personalize the message, and e-cards. There are even customable video greeting cards with tiny screens. Ugh. And the newest trend, cards featuring those QR codes that, when scanned by your smartphone, brings up a personalized video message. Oh, and let's not forget the exploding market for small batch, ultra niche cards. E-commerce store Etsy has a card for pretty much every conceivable occasion, many of them handmade by individual sellers. And literally, anyone with a computer, an internet connection, and the creative impulse can get into the greeting card business. Companies like Moo Print, Shutterfly, and Cards Direct let you make your own cards online. But it's not just the Valentine's Day cards that our Brit brethren invented. The Cadbury Company, which this year is celebrating its 200th anniversary, created the original heart-shaped box of chocolates way back in the 1860s.
After these messages, we'll be right back. Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day isn't very far away, and Hallmark Valentines give you so many ways to express your love, to show how much you care. Remember your special Valentine with a card from Hallmark.
Valentine's Day.
Hallmark, when you care enough to send the very best.
The Valentine store has surprising ways to say that you care on Valentine's Day, and they're all right here at Hallmark. We got big cards, silly cards, funny cards, frilly cards, bold cards, new cards, whoop-de-doo cards, lots of love at Hallmark, the Valentine store.
Valentine's Day is Thursday the 14th, and Hallmark has over 1,000 surprising new Valentines.
When you care enough to send the very best, come find love at Hallmark, the Valentine store.
So where does Hallmark come into the picture? Well, in 1915, the Hall brothers, J.C., William, and Raleigh, were selling imported postcards to pharmacies, bookstores, and five-and-dime stores like Woolworths. But that year, a fire wiped out all of their inventory. Undaunted, the brothers, with the help of a loan, bought an engraving company so they could make their own cards. The company was named, somewhat unimaginatively, Hall Brothers. The following year, the company began printing and selling their own in-house Valentine's Day card designs. Fun fact: the Hall brothers created what would become gift wrapping paper in 1917 after running out of their traditional colored tissue paper. Not long after that, the Hall brothers inadvertently invented the paper cut. Wonderful. In the 1920s, J.C. Hall wanted to change the name to Hallmark. No one else liked the idea, but J.C. went ahead and did it anyway. And obviously it was a good idea, because Hallmark is one of the most recognized brands in the world. So, the next time you find yourself filing through dozens of Valentine's Day cards, looking desperately for that one perfect paper declaration of love for that special someone, don't kill the messenger. Hallmark isn't to blame. Instead, blame the people who brought us Brexit, imperialism, and Coldplay. Those pesky English. And if you're single and dreading all that mushy hearts and flowers nonsense that this time of year brings, go do something nice for yourself. Buy something frivolous. Eat something delicious yet terrible for you. Do something you couldn't do if you weren't single. Just stay off the social media if you have the willpower. Oh, and happy Valentine's Day. Thanks for listening. If this is the first time you've heard this podcast, check out our past episodes, available on almost all podcast providers, and subscribe so you don't miss a single one. If you like what you hear, write a review. We would love to know what you think. Or drop us a line at thedeepdivepodcast@gmail.com. You can find links to those and our awesome t-shirt store in the bio of our Instagram page. All clips used in this podcast are meant for educational purposes only, and not to infringe on existing copyrights. The Deep Dive Microcast is part of the Deep Dive Podcast family and a production of Automaton Studios.
Happy Valentine!